Burkina Faso's voice for Traore protested, "We love Ibrahim Traore." In the months leading up to the historic protest, something strange had been happening across Burkina Faso. In tea houses and farms, in schools and mosques, people were talking, not about the past or the pain, not about the broken promises of former leaders or the grip of foreign interests. No, they were talking about hope, and that hope had a name: Captain Ibrahim Traore. Whispers began in the countryside. "He's different," said old men in dusty courtyards. "He sleeps in the barracks, eats with the soldiers," a boy from Kaya shared. "I saw him carrying sacks with the volunteers when we were fixing the road to our school," another girl said in Tenkodogo. These weren't political speeches. They were real stories, lived moments. They spread like wildfire. Traore didn't just speak of change, he became it. While other leaders in Africa were known for hiding behind tinted windows and layers of protocol, Traore had become a symbol of a new spirit. He didn't build palaces, he built trenches. He didn't host luxury dinners, he broke bread with villagers and soldiers alike. His refusal to bow to France, his fearless stand against terrorism, and his belief in Pan-Africanism ignited a flame in the hearts of the people, and slowly the whispers turned into plans. A call without fear. It was a Thursday when the call was first shared on the radio. "On the 15th of the month, we meet in Ouagadougou. No weapons, no politics, just voices. Let the world know we have found a leader worthy of our love." The message wasn't signed by a political party. It wasn't pushed by influencers or elites. It was anonymous, grassroots, and full of heart. Farmers in Bobo Dioulasso heard it, miners in Houndé heard it, mothers in Fada Ngorma heard it, and they all began to prepare. The youth made banners, elders planned prayer groups, women's associations organized cooking teams, children wrote poems. Even local soldiers whispered to each other, "This time, we're not guarding against the people, we're marching with them." The long march to the capital. On the night of the 14th, Burkina Faso did not sleep. From the north and the south, from the dry Sahel to the lush southwest, caravans began to move, entire families packed into buses, their luggage stuffed with bread, water, drums, and flags. Some walked on foot for days. In one striking scene, an 87-year-old man from a village near Gorom Gorom arrived in Ouagadougou using a wooden stick as a cane. When asked why he came, he smiled and said, "To tell Traore, you are our son, and we are proud." The capital braced itself for what was coming, but it wasn't fear that filled the air. It was joy. The day the people roared. As the sun rose over Ouagadougou on the 15th, the streets were already packed. The Place de la Révolution transformed into a sea of humanity. From above, it looked like the heart of the nation had exploded with unity and color. Giant portraits of Traore hung from buildings, not made by the government, but painted by students and street artists. There were no political slogans, no paid supporters. Every voice was real. From the speakers near the central square came music, traditional drums, songs of freedom, and the now famous chant, "Un président parmi nous," a president among us. People waved signs that read, "Merci, Président Traoré." Africa is rising and Burkina leads the way. No puppet, no fear, just Traoré. At 10 a.m. the crowd sang the national anthem. For many, it was the first time in years that the words truly felt alive. One woman, Asetu, held her 3-year-old son on her hip and whispered, "This is what I want him to remember. Not war, not hunger, but today." The stories in the crowd. In every corner of the gathering, there were stories. A group of young men from Gawa, who had been former gang members, wore T-shirts that read, "Traoré gave us work, not weapons." A nurse from Banfora wept as she described how government clinics had begun to reopen under Traoré's new health program. A blind man held a sign above his head that simply said, "I can to see him," but I feel him." One soldier standing in the crowd without his gun explained, "Before, I guarded presidents. Now, I stand beside a brother." An elderly griot began reciting poetry under a mango tree near the square. He sang, "When lions sleep, vultures feast. But when a lion rises, even the hyenas retreat. Traore is the lion. Our lion has awakened." The moment of silence. At noon, the drums stopped. The dancing paused. A wave of silence swept over the crowd. A single voice spoke through the loudspeakers. "For all who died in the struggle, let us be silent." For 2 minutes, the square stood still. No whispers, no footsteps, just the sound of wind and memory. Then came the sound of a child's voice, soft, innocent. "Merci, Président Traore." And like thunder rolling through the plains, the chant began again. 7. The appearance. Just after midday, the moment everyone hoped for arrived. Captain Ibrahim Traore stepped onto a balcony overlooking the crowd. He was not dressed in luxury. He wore his usual brown military uniform, boots dusty, shoulders broad, eyes steady. The people gasped, not out of surprise, but because even his presence felt like a blessing. He did not wave. He placed one hand over his heart, then the other hand rose in salute, not as a ruler commanding loyalty, but as a soldier honoring his people. No speech was given. None was needed. The people wept. The people clapped. The people knew. The night of fire and praise. As the sun set and the crowd began to disperse, the celebration only grew stronger. Across the capital and into every region, people lit small fires, not of destruction, but of unity. Around those fires, they told stories, sang songs and prayed. And some called it the night of the lion's flame. Children danced barefoot, elders raised gourds of water and blessed the future. Even the trees seemed to sway in rhythm with the people's joy. That night, one man in a village near Po shouted into the night, "Let no outsider say we were silent. We have spoken." The reaction across Africa. The images traveled fast. Across West Africa and beyond, people watched in awe. In Mali, youth groups held their own small protests of support. In Niger, people held up signs saying, "Traore shows us what courage looks like." Commentators in Nigeria, Ghana and Senegal said, "We are witnessing a new wave. One man has done what others only promised." Even critics had to pause. There were no signs of coercion, no violence, no bribery, just pure, unfiltered love from a nation long starved of trustworthy leadership. Traore's private words. Though he did not speak to the crowd, those close to him say that in a private meeting that night, Traore said to his closest advisers, "This love is a fire. If I use it for pride, it will burn me, but if I carry it with humility, it will light the way." He refused to hold a celebration for himself. Instead, he instructed all government buildings to open their doors the next day to hear the complaints and needs of the people. He ended the meeting with one sentence: "I will remain a servant, or I will be nothing at all." A legacy written by the people. Months later, when historians spoke of the event, they did not call it a political protest. They called it something else. A declaration of love. Unlike coups, revolutions, or elections, this moment wasn't created by bullets or ballots. It was created by belief in a man who rose from among the people and never forgot them. Graffiti on the walls of schools began to read, "A president who walked with us." Children played games where they pretended to be Traore, not to command, but to help. Universities added new courses on leadership and patriotism, centered around his example, and every 15th of the month, people gathered in small ways to remember, not with politics, but with poems, with food shared freely, with a single chant that echoed across the land, "Merci, Président Traore."